Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we are working from Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue, and we are going to be making cornbread with honey butter. So recently I found that Target had a line of products from Rodney Scott. Last I checked, they were all sold out. This was during like the beginning of this summer, 2025. So I don't know if they are coming back or it was a sort of a limited time, see what happens kind of deal. But one of the things they had was a cornbread mix. So we bought that and tried it, but we hadn't tried the one in the book before. And it was supposed to be a honey cornbread, and you did put honey on top of it and bake it like that. But it also had little kernels of corn in it. But this recipe does not have any fresh corn in it. So it's not going to be exactly the same, but we thought we would try this and see what we think of it compared to that. Both of them are supposed to be sweet. The other one was very sweet. This is a sweet cornbread because that's what his grandmother did, and so that's what he does, what his goal was when developing one for his restaurant. So that's what we're doing today. We're making cornbread and honey butter. And the first thing we do is mix up the dry ingredients. In here I have cornmeal that I've already measured, and then we're adding all-purpose flour that I have also pre-measured. You won't hear that. And we're going to be mixing this up with our whisk before we do the wet ingredients. But we also have to add to this sugar. There's a decent amount of sugar in it. We're also going to add baking soda and baking powder. Oh, and salt. Let me get the salt first. And he does call for the Diamond Crystal kosher salt, which is what I have, so it should be as expected. So I've got some baking powder. I think I need, that much. And baking soda. There we go. And I'm just going to mix this together. That gives it a good sift, gets out any lumps before we add our wet ingredients. So there we go. That's all of our dry ingredients. And so we need another bowl for our wet ingredients. My butter was not fully melted, but we do need some melted butter for this. But I'm going to go ahead and crack my eggs in here and whisk them, because I need to do that first anyway. All right, well beaten. My butter's still pretty hot. I don't know if you can see it steaming, but it is. So I'm going to do that after I put in my buttermilk. So I'm going to add my buttermilk and mix that up, and then we'll add the butter. It's a lot of buttermilk. I'm using a full-fat buttermilk, which is generally my preference. It doesn't specifically call for full fat in this recipe. Now my eggs have a little bit of thermal room. They hopefully won't scramble because the buttermilk was cold and so are the eggs, but the butter's hot. So I'm just going to pour it and whisk at the same time. And this is unsalted butter. All of this is unsalted butter that we're going to be using here today, as requested in the recipe. I have some reservations about this actually fitting into the 10-inch cast iron skillet. So now I'm going to slowly pour the buttermilk mixture into the cornmeal mixture and whisk. I'm going to whisk this pretty thoroughly until completely smooth. So I'm sick of the slow method, especially since my bowl is moving around. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna have to be a little bit more careful. Feels like this is a 12-inch cast iron skillet. I'm just saying, that's what it feels like to me. And I'm pretty sure that the previous recipe from him that called for a 10-inch cast iron skillet filled up a 12-inch. I forget exact. I think that was the cornmeal, like a dessert cornmeal cake. I'll link that up here. But I'm pretty sure we ended up having to use a 12-inch. So I'm just going to call an audible and get down my 12-inch instead, because I think that was the one that had me questioning whether my 12-inch was really a 12-inch, and it is. I've checked, because this does not look like this will fit to me. So we're going 12-inch. Also, he says to spray this with nonstick spray. I'm going to spray it with just a little bit of grapeseed oil. I have a little sprayer, and that should be plenty. This is relatively nonstick. It'll be fine. All right, so now our batter is ready. Our pan is ready. I'm going to use this, and we're just going to pour it in. I will say that the mixture, the mix that we bought did fit nicely in a 10-inch cast iron skillet. So I think I took pictures of that, so we might include that here as well if my editor can find them. But yeah, pretty sure that wasn't going to fit into the 10-inch. Anyway, so this goes in the oven that has been heated to 350 degrees, and it should be about 25 minutes. So we will check back in 25 minutes on that. That 25 minutes will give us plenty of time to make the honey butter that we serve with this. I have more unsalted butter in a bowl, and I'm going to add, already used this once, maybe more today, but I love these things, especially for honey. All right. So I'm going to measure out my honey. There we go. And he says you can use just a plain whisk. That butter needs to be at room temperature, by the way. You can use a whisk or a hand blender. It's not enough really for my whole big blender, but this will be perfect. Or my whole big mixer, hand mixer, not. So I'm going to use this, which is a great little workhorse, and we're just going to mix it until it's well combined. I'm going for relatively smooth. Looks good to me. I'm going to transfer this into a small container that has a lid that I can put into the refrigerator when we're done, because we're not going to use all of this at once. It's funny. So it says that the cornbread makes 16 servings, but it's cut into 8 pieces in the picture. And that's what I did with my other one as well. But after I looked at the nutrition information on that, I understand why they made it 16 servings. It's pretty calorie dense. That's it, except for deciding that the bread's done. So I have about 20 minutes to make the rest of our dinner. All right, so Our cornbread was not done at 25 minutes, so I checked it every 5 minutes after that. And finally, at 10 minutes after, it started looking a little bit brown, but I ended up going for 15 extra minutes. And now we have this brown color, and I tested it with a toothpick, and there's nothing. It's not damp at all. So it could have a crumb or two on it when it comes out. So hopefully I didn't overcook it, but it did not look done at all at 25 minutes, even though it's relatively thinner compared to a 10-inch skillet. Anyway, whatever. Done now. We will show you what it looks like and let you know what we think about it next. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make cornbread with honey butter from Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue. And we've eaten this. It's cooled off enough that I can handle it. So, but we made this cornbread with honey butter. Honey butter's already in the fridge. As you can see, we ate about half of it. So that would have been 8 servings. I really cut it more like 6 servings each side, so total of 12 servings. We thought it was really, really good. By itself, without the honey butter, it is a slightly sweet cornbread, but not nearly as sweet as the box mix of the Rodney Scott cornbread honey. I forget what it's called. I took a picture. Of the box, but I don't have that available right now. But it was not nearly as sweet as that one was. That one was not served with honey butter, but you did take it out, drizzle it with honey butter, and then put it back in the oven for, not honey butter, just plain honey. So you took it out of the oven, drizzled it with honey, and then put it back in the oven for the last like 5 minutes of its baking time. That was very, very sweet. And this one with the honey butter got close to that sweet, depending on how much you put on there. So I had some with, some without. I really liked it. I would definitely make this again. I might try to like have the recipe though, because it just, leftover cornbread is not ever as good as the same day. So unless I'm feeding more than my family, I don't need this much cornbread usually. I have to try to figure out what to do with this tomorrow. But if I were, if I had another family, if we were having guests, this would definitely serve everyone. It was very moist inside, which I was concerned that it wouldn't be, that it would be extra dry, because I did have to bake it an extra 15 minutes. I probably could have baked it even maybe a little bit longer, but it wasn't doughy or anything. It was good. It was done. And I enjoyed it. So we liked it. I would make it again. But it does make a rather large pan of cornbread. So if that's a thing that you struggle with figuring out what to do and you don't have that many people to serve, it seems like it'd be something that'd be relatively easy to have. So I will try that next time. And the honey butter should last quite a while in the refrigerator. But I'm looking forward to figuring out other things to put honey butter on. It's a pretty sweet version of honey butter. And there's no salt in the recipe at all, because you use unsalted butter. So very sweet. Anyway, if you've enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.